But there's apparently this video game person, and I saw him at the NBA celebrity basketball game. Smith, do you know this Kai Tenet guy? Is that his name? Kai.
I've heard of him. Yes.
Okay. Sinet. Kai Sinet. He's apparently very wealthy. He is it's $14 million is what he's worth. $14 million. He makes an annual $3 million, I think, playing video games. I think that's what is his claim to fame. I think his Twitch account. So his net worth is between 12 and $14 million. He's very young. Let me get his exact age. And I didn't know him at all until he was in the NBA celebrity game recently, and I was like, "Who's this guy?" Huh? Smith, you either? Okay. Kai Sinet. He is 22 years old. 22 years old. He is of Caribbean descent, Trinidad and Tobago. His father is from Haiti. So he went on, and I'm not even going to play it because it's so egregious, because what I'm seeing is a 22-year-old that has no life experience, doesn't read enough to know, has no historical knowledge, and he's going on and on about Black Americans not working hard and not being as good and being jealous and all. I mean, just saying some ridiculously ignorant things. So I'm not playing that clip. I'm not playing that clip. And then there's some other people in there saying, folk that that are light skinned aren't really Black. And I'm like, at what point did we participate in our own demise? Well, if you know history, there was a brown paper bag test for people to get in sororities and fraternities and other organizations. And if you were darker than a brown paper bag, you weren't admitted into that organization. And I think about the damage of something like that and who even came up with it. Like, what was that conversation, in a meeting? Because clearly it was prevalent. It was prevalent, right? So when you think about even that, like, what was that about? The Black people would hold up a paper bag, and if you were darker, you couldn't be an AKA or Alpha or whatever the organization was. And I was like, wow. Even the Cotton Club, if you were a woman entertainer in the Cotton Club, if you did not pass the brown paper bag test, you would not be hired to perform, because the audience was mostly wealthy white men, and they wanted to see, just a slightly darker version of themselves, but they didn't want the thick-lipped, the big-nosed, dark-skinned, no matter how talented you were. So we have been folding and contorting ourselves for centuries to fit into, again, the cracks and crevices of society that would accept us. Even the rumors around going to Howard and Spelman to be admitted into those organizations, into those universities, brown paper bag test. So this is nothing new, but it is, in a time such as this, it is unacceptable. And we should shout it from the mountaintops that this is unacceptable behavior. So I'm going to need Kai Carlos Sinet to shut your mouth as it relates to race and Black people and this and that. You don't know enough, and whatever you feel and whoever you're around, that money that is coming into your pocket. And this is problematic. We have a generation of young people who don't have to go to work, don't have to read a book, don't have to go to school. They're making millions of dollars as influencers with no substance and depth. There was a time when, like, a Paul Robeson, who we had a lengthy conversation on the show, had to do all of the things and still wasn't making a whole lot of money. But he had to be an academic valedictorian, a football player, singer, songwriter. I mean, he had to do all of the things just to make ends meet. Now you don't have to be much of anything if you do something that people like. So he Twitch, which is where people watch people. We're a nation of voyeurs, by the way. People watch people play video games. He had a peak of 306,000 subscribers and a gaggle of advertisers, because those kind of numbers bring in the money, which is part of the conversation we were having about the WNBA earlier late last week. Was it this week? It was Monday, I think, with the salaries, 866-801-8255. So I'm going to play this clip because there's a lot going on in the diaspora around color and who's better and who's not, and it's all silliness. And as we're doing this back and forth, and people jumping on the bandwagon, and if you're one of it, I was going to have this conversation with Tiffany, because for me, this is destructive, and it will be the thing. And it doesn't matter who's elected president at this point. If we can't get it together right now, all of this talk of reparations, how's it even going to happen? We can't even agree on who's black. I don't understand. 866-801-8255. So play Colorful Stories. Just a little small clip she had on the level of ignorance that's happening.
Baby, let me tell you about the ignorance that has happened in 1 week. So we got Kai Cenat, a Black Caribbean person, telling Black Americans they do not have a culture, while there are Black Americans telling one of the two largest ethnic groups of Black Americans, there's Gullah Geechee and Louisiana Creoles. They are telling Louisiana Creoles that if they're fair-skinned, they can't possibly be Black. This where we at? This where we at, y'all? We in the Matrix. Lord, come unplug me today, baby, because listen, what? We can't possibly... Y'all, I'm gonna need y'all to step away from the phones and go read a book, because it's too ignorant. It's too ignorant, and y'all ain't got it, Lord Jesus. Pick up a book.
Pick up a book. So my question is, what do we do? And those of you who engage in the commentary, because I know it's so easy, especially when you feel attacked, right? If you are a Black American and then you see a Caribbean American having the audacity to part their lips and say something so ridiculous like Black people don't have a culture. Like, you only exist because Black Americans endured. But see, there we go. Now we're doing the one-upmanship, right? Well, while you let your, if you're African, well, we didn't get captured. Okay, but you're colonized. Okay, so like, what are we doing exactly? You got white Jesus and you don't know who you are. You praying to the very people that enslaved us. What is happening here? Like, do we have that conversation, or how do we navigate these waters? It is very, 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 very poisonous and toxic, this conversation, right? But it does kind of make you want to defend your tribe. But we're all in the same boat. Literally. We were all thrown into the same boat. They didn't make the distinction of whether you were Igbo or Yoruba or whether you were from the Akan folk or what. They didn't give a damn. You were Black. You were going to till this land, and you were going to build and put this rice in, and you're going to do this indigo, and you're going to pick this tobacco and this cotton. You were going to do those things, and they did not care where you came from. And if you're Haitian, shout out to you, by the way. Shout out to you. You set the world on fire, but that was a bunch of different Dahomies versus and all kinds of different people coming together to free themselves. But the only reason why that was able to happen because the land was so treacherous that there were very few white people that could be there. So there were a lot of Africans on a plantation dying. I think the mortality rate was like people didn't make it into their 30s on Hispaniola, So there was nothing to do but fight. Either we're going to be free or we're going to die. And they were not making a distinction of what tribe you came from and whether or not you should, you are better than I am or whatever. They fought and they were freed. And they signaled to the rest of the world that it was possible. And so I look at that as Kai Cenat, whose dad is Haitian and his mom's from Trinidad and Tobago, which has a lot of oil. There's a lot of rich culture everywhere. But that culture all comes back to the continent. And then we remixed it wherever we were. But we're not separate people. And even if we are going to bring in the non-melanated folk, even there's a story to be made to thread in everybody. Because before the Africans were here, there were the indentured Irish. And the reason why race became a thing is because the Irish and the enslaved Africans were like, we're in the same boat. How you doing? And they were getting together, and that was a problem. So the greatest tool and weapon used is division. Here's a badge. You're now Irish patty rollers and overseers. And now you get to lord over these bodies instead of being in kinship with them. But it's all power and then the powerless. And now it's complicated because some of the powerless have money, but it doesn't make them any spokesperson or anyone that should even open their mouths and put their entire brains on display. As Dr. Cart would say, it's a disgusting place that we're in right now. And instead of beating up Kai Carlos Sennett III, it's beautiful that you're the third, while we have Charlie Kirk out there talking greasy about black fathers and black people are criminals and making a case for it, that, and he's in front of an audience that can't dispute him because nobody has the knowledge to be able to have that fight. But do we even want to have that fight with somebody like that, who has crafted a whole career on the destruction of black people in the media? Like, at some point, we got to come together on this and fight against it, no matter what your complexion is. This is not tenable. So we have to, and I'm going to continue to have these conversations as I see other people having the conversations and play these clips, because it's sickening. And then when you got Gerard Carmichael having slave play jokes and then trying to defend it, we'll talk about that tomorrow when Rod and Lamont and them are in, because it's a Foolishness Friday conversation. I don't want to have it today, but like, you have a huge platform. Why is that funny? Why is that even making its way into a joke that you pretend to be a slave in bed with your boyfriend? Like, what is that? Why is that? Why are you talking about that, sir? Why? I won't just say yes. Need you to do more and say less. I won't just say yes. Need you to do more and say less.